changes.
Welcome to another episode of Changes. My name is Rosalind Felly. Today we want to narrow our conversation down to STIs. What do you know about STIs? Now, a lot of young people out there don't even think about STIs. They only think about how to make money, how to even make it the wrong way by sleeping with people without caution. Now, today we want to talk more about STIs, how dangerous it is, how you can protect yourself from getting it. I have Madam Edith Asari Mensah, who is a program officer at the National AIDS and STI Control Program with the Ghana Health Service. She is a public health nurse, and today she's going to help us with this very important topic. Make sure you pick up a phone to call a friend to watch this particular episode, because every single person out there is at risk if you don't know much about STIs. Welcome, Madam Edith.
Thank you very much, Rosalind.
How are you?
I'm going good, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, good too.
Right. Now, I want to say a very big thank you to Icons. The Icons is a lovely place. It's located at East Legon. It's a place that has a right ambience. If you want to have any event of your choice, just come in here. They have a beautiful place. They will serve you anything that you desire, and you will be happy at the end of the day. Now, let's delve into our conversation for today. Let's talk about STIs, madam. And when we talk about STIs, everybody says, okay, it's a sexually transmitted infection. But then what really is STI?
Thank you very much, Rosalind. Yeah, when we talk about sexually transmitted infections, as the name denotes, people think it's just sexually transmitted infections. And of course, people think it's mainly acquired through sexual intercourse. But in actual fact, they manifest in a variety of clinical ways. So, of course, someone may present with an STI and maybe having a discharge, or maybe having a sore, or maybe having a growth, which actually is an STI, and may not know. That is one thing. Right. But what we need to also appreciate is they are acquired and they can be transmitted, of course. When we talk about those acquired, a mother can give it to the child. That is through birth. And of course, some of these ones are the syphilis, the gonorrhea. Of course, this baby can present with a discharge from the eye. And then we can also get it transmitted when you have an unprotected sexual intercourse with an infected person. Of course, sexual orientations have changed with time. And when I talk about sexual orientations, some may want to have it like the Adam and Eve, where it could occur between a man and a woman, right? Where the penis could be introduced to the vagina without condom. And if one of them is having any of the infections, it could be transmitted. Right. We also talk about the mother to child transmission. We could also talk about the fact that when people use the same clothing, you can get, because one typical STI that has become a public health importance now is scabies. Yes, scabies, exactly. We actually now categorize it as an STI.
What is scabies?
Scabies, actually, normally when you look back to those days in school, when students go to school, they come back, they will tell, Mommy, I had a bite. And of course, and it has become an STI.
A bite?
A bite.
How does it look like?
So it's like it's a pathogen that, or I may say a bacteria that normally harbored around humid areas where there is moist. So they could have. So you realize this time around, we have students going and coming in, talking about the fact that they got a bite in school, and it's a smaller
Does it affect any part of your body?
Yeah, mainly where it normally affects is the genital area. Okay. So of course,
it looks like a mosquito bite.
Exactly. So what happens is, if you have a partner that has overgrown hair around the genital area and you are not aware of, so once the body is touching each other, the person is infecting you. Exactly. Yes.
But even if there's no sexual intercourse going on?
Exactly. When you use the same clothing, for instance, as boys, they can use the same boxer shorts. So if one is having it, it could be transmitted to the other person. So they come back itching around the genital area. Some of the guys, you see them, you realize that, oh, they put their hands in the pockets and then be scratching as if, Charlie, how? So meanwhile, they are scratching. And
help me understand this. Yeah. If I am not getting it through sex, then why are we calling it or terming it as STI?
Very well. I did mention that we can acquire it and it can be transmitted.
Okay.
Yes, so once you use my clothing and you pass it on, I can acquire it. But let's go to the main point.
All right.
One thing we also need to appreciate is we can acquire it and it can be transmitted. And they manifest clinically in many ways. But remember, they have a lot of public health importance because they come with complications.
All right.
Yes, and some come with acute morbidity. When I talk about acute morbidity, they come with illnesses, for instance, HIV. In fact, HIV has made us to be very sensitive to STIs now. Because when one has an STI, which is not treated very well, the person stands a chance of acquiring HIV if you are having sex with an infected person. Because an untreated STI can result in acquisition of HIV when you meet someone. For instance, you may have a STI manifest in a lot of ways. We could talk about the discharges, where a male could discharge from the penis. Yes, normally a male shouldn't be having a discharge, except that he is having sex and has had an orgasm, or maybe if it's not an nocturnal emission. But once the person is presenting with a discharge, then there's something to look out for. Of course, the person may have...
Can I understand this, please?
Exactly.
When the person is discharging, then there's a problem.
Yes,
and what problem is this specifically?
Thank you very much. Probably the person may have picked on an STI, and of course, it could be a gonococcal infection or a chlamydia.
Okay.
So the person picks it up within 24 hours. The person starts exhibiting, will have pain when urinating, the discharge comes, and if it's kept over time, you realize that the person now have difficulty in passing urine. Exactly. And if care is not taken, it could travel to the surrounding organs and can affect them. So we encourage people to report as soon as possible if you are exposed sexually without a condom.
All right.
And you notice that within some few hours or some few days you are exhibiting these things, quickly there's a need to report. And if you report, your sexual partner has also come in.
I know the scabies, that you spoke about has gotten a lot of people alarmed right now, because you're telling me that, with regards to the gonorrhea or the other chlamydia, you can get to the hospital quickly and, cure or, something can be done about it.
But the issue is the scabies, it could also be cured.
Okay.
There's a treatment for it. If you notice it and without shyness, you report to the right place, you can be taken care of. And let me also come to the other STIs.
Okay.
We talk about the genital sores. One could also present with an ulcer, which is a sore, without even knowing. How do we get these sores? It could be gotten through these genital herpes. Herpes look like anansi, like a pimple, so it can burst.
Right.
And that is where the sore is. So if you're unfortunately having an unprotected sex with an infected person who is HIV positive, you can easily pick it because there's an opening.
Okay.
You can easily pick the HIV because of the presence of your sore. And most people have these sores, they cannot tell when it occurred. So they would have picked HIV through that.
Is it only around the genital area, or it could appear any part of your body?
Of course, when you are having sex, the two genitals are involved. So you can also pick it. We also have the sores, the herpes that occurs on the body.
Yeah.
But specifically when it occurs around the genital, and it means it's a genital herpes.
Okay.
And of course, if you don't see it early and the pimple bursts, when you have an intercourse with someone, where that water from the pimple touches is where the person is also going to have it occurring. And remember, it's a viral infection. It's caused by a virus. So once you get it,
so it's not curable.
It's not curable. So it remains with you for life. And normally for women, what happens is that after their menses and their immune system goes down a little, you see it reoccurring.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
So they have sores around their genitals.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
and does it heal? Does a sore heal at all?
It does. But it's something that has remained with you. It goes and comes. So we have other organisms that could also cause a sore. We have the chancroid, or syphilis can also cause a sore. But that's why it's very important that before you have a sexual intercourse, or when you get into relationship, there's a need to go through various tests. Of course, if the person have the curable one, and it could be cured, the person is cured and you can have your way through the relationship.
Talking about all these things, of course, if you should meet somebody with herpes and
exactly.
when the emotions are running at that time, you can't say that I'm going to check to see if the person has, herpes or not.
Yeah,
you might just go in there. When it comes to things like HIV, you could use condom to protect yourself. Can you use condom to protect yourself with herpes as well?
Yeah. For the herpes, it depends on where it is. Because I happen to see one around the balls. And that the balls did not go into the condom. So you realize that the herpes was there, but it was touching the genital part of the woman, the lower part. So of course the woman can be infected. And that is the sad thing. So it's very important that before you have your sexual intercourse, at least have a foreplay. And then allow the light to be on. And then do some few examinations as a romance. So you can have your way there. I think we should go beyond the time that I'm shy, put off the light. Exactly.
And actually, so how do you stop yourself in the middle? You're already there. How do you stop yourself?
Yeah, but that's why you need to be conscious of yourself. Before you get in, just have some play around and then you can easily pick it. Yes, so the light should be on. But most women, I'm shy. And some men, because they have these things, will keep it away from the women. So they want to penetrate in the dark. Which is very sad. So by the time the woman realized, of course, she may not have had any intercourse with anyone. And that was the only person. And she got infected. So most women who are infected with HIV cannot even tell who infected them. The same way, most men who are infected today with HIV cannot really tell where they picked the infection.
Can you get HIV even if you use condoms?
Well, it depends. That means if there is any other source around any part of your body. Exactly. You can also get HIV. Then we talk about the deep kissing and all those things. If the person is, of course, bleeding from the gun, and please, you can get HIV even when you are not penetrating, because currently, I mentioned initially that our sexual orientations have changed. Some will prefer the oral sex,
right, which
the person can infect you through that, because they do it and have the orgasm, and some will do it. Let me have these coital interrupters. They insert the penis, and when you're about having your orgasm, they pull it out. Or they will tell you, let me wear the condom. And unfortunately, some men will tell you, I'm wearing the condom. But in any case, they may have made a hole under it. That's why it's important that every woman should also have control over their sexual life. Before the man tells you, you can even wear the condom for the man.
Talking about the hole, now, when we read on HIV, we get to know that it's when, there's exchange of fluid or there's exchange of when there's a cut. Let's say more of a cut, the blood and all of that. However, when there's a hole, there's no blood exchange. So how then do you get,
Remember, when you have HIV, it could be found in the body fluids, including your semen.
Okay.
The vaginal fluid, the blood, and the breast milk.
All right.
So once it's in the semen, it can easily be passed on, and more so if there was an abrasion, there was a forceful penetration, and the man ended up dropping his semen there, you could easily pick it because there is a sore.
There's a sore.
Yeah.
Can you get herpes through kissing as well?
Well, we also have the oral herpes, which occurs around the lips. So if you hold it in the mouth, and even if you do the oral sex and you put the penis, which has the herpes on, you can easily get it. So most of the time, you see some people, as a result of having, you realize that when they are sick, they have fever. They normally have these oral herpes. But so you can imagine putting the penis in the mouth, you can easily get it. And some could also enjoy.
So what we see is not fever blisters, it's herpes?
It's herpes, called herpes, yes.
I actually was arguing with someone on this issue,
herpes.
And I was saying that it's herpes because I read on it, and the person said it's not. It's fever blisters, but it's herpes.
It's herpes.
And so it doesn't mean that there are people that probably it's not sexually transmitted.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean that they got it through the mother-child.
Yeah, it could happen. They got it through the mother-to-child transmission.
Okay.
So it depends. And some still engage in. Some men will still want to lick the vagina before to have their whatever, to get aroused so that they can have easy penetration. There's a need to look at. So for instance, if the woman has this herpes around the genital, you can easily pick it. Exactly. So these are some of the things. We are not living in normal times where things were just rosy those days. You can have your woman, you are sure she's okay. But currently you can't tell because you can't read the heart on their face.
Right. We cannot read the heart on the face, definitely. We are having a conversation on STIs. You need to tell somebody to tune in right now because the conversation is getting more interesting. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we do have more for you. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Changes. My name is Rosalind Felly. Today's conversation is all about STIs. We want to talk more about it because we want everybody to be cautious when they're having sex and want you to be healthy for us as well. My conversation is with Madam Edith Asare-Mensah, who is the Programs Officer at National AIDS and STI Control Program. She's also a public health nurse with the Ghana Health Service, and she told us a lot about STIs. Now, Madam, you were telling us more, and we want to talk about the genital warts.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the genital warts.
Okay.
But you realize that when I even mentioned that of the genital discharges, I did mention about the male ones. The women also could have it.
Or the discharge.
Exactly.
Is that the same thing that they keep talking about it as is white or is candidiasis and all of that?
Thank you very much. I'm happy you've brought this issue. Normally, when women are having discharge, they go to the pharmacy. So they want to buy medication for what? But if you are sexually active, your treatment needs to go beyond that.
Oh, right.
Because once you become sexually active, you are exposed to any of these sexually transmitted infectious organisms or pathogens, like the gonorrhea, the chlamydia. Some of the pathogens may be there, but you might not notice it. So some come with time, they get you discomfort. So you use salty water, you insert something and it's gone. But if it's gonococcal in nature or chlamydia in nature, you haven't managed these two organisms. So it's going to remain there, and that is what causes most of the acute morbidities for us. So that's how come we are looking at it as what? A public health importance.
Right.
Because some of them are having the negative effect on our fertilities and here and there. So women will end up with spontaneous abortion and all those things because the infection is there, it wasn't taken care of, and some of them will end up with ovarian cysts, strictures in their fallopian tubes and all those things because she didn't receive the right treatment.
You know, I'd like us to really speak on that because somebody might have ovarian cyst and will be watching the show with the husband, and the husband could say, oh, you didn't treat your STI, that's why you have ovarian cyst now, or you didn't treat your STI, that's why you have fallopian issues. So can we clear it? Is it the only cause for it?
Thank you very much. That's not the only cause
Okay.
for the cyst, because most people think, oh, once you have it, it's sexually related. Probably you didn't even know it occurred. And normally with these growth, you cannot tell how they occur. You can be there as a virgin, you could also have it based on what you are going through. Some of them, when they start their menses, they go through a lot of pain, and based on scans and other investigations, they realize that there's a cyst somewhere, which of course that lady may not have even been exposed to sexual intercourse. So not all ovarian cysts result as a result of sexually transmitted infections. Right.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Now let's continue with that.
Thank
sexually
you very
transmitted infections.
Yeah. So for the females, some may end up with spontaneous abortion, strictures here and there, having issues. So there's a need to look at it.
But you spoke about people sitting in salt water and all of that.
Yes, of course. Yes, some when they have these chlamydia, for instance, when it comes, it gives you a little discomfort, a little itch. You are there, but as soon as you use the salty water, you sort of getting some relief. So you leave it. But of course, it must be treated with the right medication.
But can you get it also from the usage of public toilets?
Well, that's what people say. But of course, you and I appreciate the fact that when we enter the washroom, we don't just sit on. Yes, we know even if it's messy, we sort of find a way of cleaning it. And these days, most women will even use some tissue on it before sitting and raising themselves. Is very important. So people talk about acquired it through this, but if the person is sexually active, of course the person may have acquired it through sexual intercourse. Right. Exactly. So our worry of STIs, why we normally want to control, is the link between STIs and other ones like the HIV. It's become a public health importance now, because when we look at the rate at which HIV is going, most people who have STIs and were not treated end up acquiring HIV.
Right.
So that's why there's a need to look at it. I think there's more to talk about with the STIs.
Yes, there is a lot more to, but there are types of STIs you were talking about earlier. Tell us about the types.
Well. Yeah, so we as a program or a service have categorized it into different forms. We talk about the discharges, we talk about the growth, we talk about the source, and then we also talk about the fact that the growth, the discharges, the source. So these are the categorization.
So growth, but when we discharge and the source.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, for the discharge we have discussed it. It could occur in both male and women.
Right.
Which occur, the basis is due to gonorrhea and chlamydia. And herpes, the first episode, you could also experience a discharge.
Right. Without knowing.
Without knowing.
Okay.
Yeah, you could experience a discharge. That's why women need to look at this. And also, secondly, when we talk about the source, male also could have it. Syphilis could also make you have a sore. The herpes itself, chancroid, we do have. And those chancroid sores, when you see it, you might not even feel like eating. They have rough edges, and then they look unclean. Exactly.
Is it that it just occurs? You know, you just
of course, you may have acquired it through a sexual partner.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That do you just notice it there, or
it starts with discharges, and then with the little time you see a little sore there, it goes off, and later it ends up. But normally, people living with HIV, when they have those sores without being on medication, when they are not on antiretroviral, it takes a different shape altogether. Exactly. But as soon as they start their medication, they sort of have a relief. So
the sores can be healed?
The sores can be healed.
Can you use like penicillin or antibacterial?
We have a way of taking care of it. So we normally don't give medication on air.
Okay.
We encourage people to report to the health facility. Because when you have an STI, it's not only you. Someone is also involved. And of course, we have an opportunity to provide them with a comprehensive care, including HIV. So we make them take HIV tests. We take them through education for them to appreciate what they are going through, and the fact that we want to prevent complications, because when they are put on medication, there's a need to stress on consistently adhering to the medication, and then bringing in their partners or partner. So if you have multiple partners, you find a way of bringing them one after the other. How are you bringing all of them? Yes, you find a way of getting them linked up, because if you don't make them get the treatment, what happens is that you get treated, the first partner get treated, but the other ones, you may end up going back to them. So there's sort of a reinfection. So
in that time or that period, do you have to stay off sex?
Yeah, when on medication. If you want to have sex at all costs, because you're on medication, we want the medication to be very effective, so you can use the condom.
Okay. Exactly. Now let's talk about using medication, using condom, and how long does it take for you to get off that medication before you can have sex?
Thank you very much. Some of the medication takes you for about 7 days. Okay. And some, it depends. And some takes you for about 2 weeks. Yeah, that's the maximum.
All right.
Of course, when...
For which of them?
Yes, the pelvic inflammatory diseases.
Okay.
We normally put them on medication for 14 days.
Are all pelvic inflammatory disease sexually transmitted?
Yes, of course. Because the person may have had the infection, wasn't treated, or may have sought help from a nearby, those peddling drugs, or gone to the pharmacy to say, I have white, which actually was beyond white. Okay. So didn't get the treatment. Now you realize that the person starts having low abdominal pains. It means the surrounding organs have gotten involved. The service is involved. So that's why there's a need to identify with the right place, the right person to be examined and treated, and you bring in your partner. Because if care is not taken, you may end up having a surgery.
For the pelvic inflammatory
exactly.
disease. Now, with the pelvic inflammatory disease, is it that when the pain comes, it lasts till you get some sort of pain relief, or it can die off on its own?
It goes and comes.
Okay.
It goes and comes. And if you are not careful, if care is not taken, if there's no early intervention, we can lose that person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. Because the sort of pus has been formed within the pelvic organs. So there's a need to. So at times they come. Some have come in this form. They cannot even raise themselves, coming with pain. The little touch is very tender. And then when you ask about their sexual history, and they open up. That's why we do all these things with sensitivity. Exactly.
What about those? You know, some people actually go through that pain when they are ovulating.
Exactly.
You know, could it also be part of it?
Yeah, exactly. As part of our history taking, we look at your menstrual cycle, your last menstrual period, and so we see if it's related to your cycle. If it's not related, and if you have ever had a discharge and how you treated it.
Okay.
Was your partner treated, or you went alone to have your treatment, came back, got reinfected, and as a result is occurring this way. Some even end up coming with intermittent bleeding. So I quite remember I had a case like that. She came very offensive. She was bleeding. She was in school. She didn't know whom to disclose to. But a cousin who has worked with one of the NGOs who are aware about STI brought her in. So quickly we have to manage it. But the partner, in quotes, was not, yes. We asked for the partner wasn't coming. So there's a history we need to look at. Was it one partner or multiple partners? Of course, you know, our young ones do anything, anyhow, for whatever they desire. Yes.
Right. So now let's talk about the growth. Which ones are the ones that causes the growth?
Thank you very much. With the growth, we talk about the genital warts, which look like a curly flower. It starts very small, like a pimple. And with time, before you realize, it's all over there. But remember, for the genital warts, some are pregnancy-induced.
Not sexually transmitted?
Not sexually transmitted. They are pregnant. As soon as they get pregnant, you see it's coming all over them. After delivery, it's vanished.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
and so for the pregnancy-induced ones, is it that they come around the genitals or it comes around the body itself? Okay.
Yes. Just about 3 weeks ago, I happened to see one.
Okay.
Yes. So she said the first pregnancy to it occurred. Yes. So the second pregnancy, she had it. It doesn't mean actually she was a virgin before getting married. Okay. So we wouldn't say, and it's not at the genital area. Okay. But of course, such a person need also to be examined because we can't tell whether she uses a towel, and it's a viral infection. So anything can occur. So there's a need to look at that person, examine the genital area, if there is something there so that we can look at it. But once it comes during pregnancy and then she's relieved of after delivery, that is fine. She's okay to go.
So those that get it through sex, they never go?
Yeah, they never go, especially if they are infected with HIV. So we have a way of taking care of them. And the treatment is a little, I may say, expensive, and you need time because the medication that we use for them, they end up with a sore, and they need to come and be nursing the sores. So it's something we need to look at. Yes.
Is it common?
Yeah, it's very common these days. Very, very common.
And it grows like a curly flower?
Yes, it grows like a curly flower. Some have it, and as a result of shyness, they are not opening up. So by the time you see it, you see all the penis around, and especially those penises that are not circumcised, they hide within the folds. You know, before sexual intercourse, they have to
come out.
Yes. So they pull the foreskin back. So when they get it, so those are the things that can expose people with STI, because such a person, it's not only the genital warts, it can pick any of the infection, and because of the fold, yes, once he's having sex with you, he can drop anything in you. So that's why there's a need for us to open up. No, and you know, some cultures doesn't believe in women even seeing the penis of the man. Yeah. Before I learned something, before they go in, they have to ask permission, which I don't want to use the word. Some even don't know how. Even the elite don't even know how the partner's penis look like. So you are there, and it's like this.
Can I please?
Yes.
May I?
Yes. Oh. So they understand the language, so they open up, and then the penis is in, and he's done what he wants to do. And this is a culture.
Is that one supposed to be like an arranged marriage sort of?
Not an arranged marriage. I'm telling you, even the elite.
Wow.
Within that culture. Yes.
Is that culture in Ghana here?
Yes, it is.
After the show, I'll definitely want to know the culture. You can research on it. We are not talking about it here on the show, because we are not talking about cultures here.
Very
but
sad.
You know,
how culture can influence the acquisition of STI. And I think the only thing we can do to curb those things and get the males involved, do a lot of information given, and then educate the women. You know, they don't want to talk about sex because they feel when they expose the women, they may go out.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I mean, talking about it or not talking about it, if they want to go out, they'll go out.
That is it.
But okay, lack of knowledge. Let's put it like that.
Exactly.
Now let's also talk about the types that we have that we hardly talk about. We know of the HIV, we know of the syphilis, the gonorrheas, and all those that some are the chlamydias and all.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that after the break, and so you need to stay tuned to the station. We'll be right back.
Changing.
Welcome back. You're still watching Changes. My name is Rosalyn Felly. Today is all about STIs. We want to go on the street and ask people what causes white. I mean chlamydia, the popular STIs or the popular infection that everybody calls white. We want to know what causes it. What do people think on the streets? Let's hear.
Changing.
Good afternoon.
What do you think causes white?
I think too much sugar, and then the olden times toilets that we use, like compound house. I think the heat also causes those things.
I think the water closets causes.
Water closets. I think a public place. Those are the public places. It can also cause white. That is the little knowledge I know.
Okay, I think too much of heat. Like sometimes sometimes we put on trousers, then we put on underwear, pants. So so much of heat also causes white.
And what do you think? How do you think we can treat it?
Okay, for me the best way is you have to clean your private parts very neat using normal water. When you are bathing, then you clean that place.
What do you think causes white?
Too much of sugar.
Too much of sugar.
Yeah.
That's what you know.
Yeah.
I say area would sugar be brain so sweet things na wunya no oba hawase. About pant moon so white bisa.
Dem nim fa won say white dey ba oba ho a e ma na se keka no e no hu nsuo fita bi nso won ase. E bi dey nso e bon nti no dem nim fa won no. Ebia private na eson nya na say ebia okojonso no anhwe ho ni ya otiminya sa white no ana say ebia pint mo when so pint ni ya otiminya.
I think if you don't keep yourself well, and then there are people who don't like wash properly, and then you can't be repeating your panties. You wash it, hang them in the sun, so that at least if there are bacteria or something, you get rid of them. And then your hands go in there, especially when it comes to intimacy. You can be walking around, and then probably if you want to do that one, wash your hand properly before. Else, if you put your hand there, it also can introduce certain kind of bacteria in there, and then it will cause all sorts of things.
Changing.
Well, you've heard what people on the streets have said with regards to what causes white chlamydia. I'm here with Madam Edith Asari Mensah, and she is telling us more about STIs. We want to know what actually causes chlamydia.
Thank you very much. Chlamydia is one of the bacteria that causes an STI. But when people talk about the white, the misunderstanding of white, people think, oh, they have eaten sugar. Some think, oh, because I know when the time I have my menses, I experience some itch or anything. Actually, most of the whites we talk about are fungi in nature. Yes, what are those fungi? How could they occur? Especially where you dry your panties could also be a contributing factor.
I was going to ask about that.
Exactly. If you dry your panties in the room and it doesn't dry well before you wear it, and mostly we see it among the students, because when they are in school, they want to hide their panties, especially under their towels. So that it doesn't have the direct attraction of the sun. So it dries, it's moist, they wear it, and then once it's moist, they can easily develop these whites. And some of them as a result of hormonal. Yes. Some women, when they are pregnant, experiences this white, which of course is not an STI related one. because of the hormones over
But
secretion.
how do you tell the difference? How can you tell
Very
that
well.
this is not sexually transmitted infection?
Thank you. The amount,
Okay.
the consistency, the color, and then the history the woman gives you.
Right. So what's the color difference?
Thank you. Some come, we know normal white is colorless, but some come very creamy, which of course denotes a fungal infection, and is very kiddy.
Okay.
As if you've put a milk on fire, boiled, and it comes kiddy. Yes, so it itches a lot.
All right.
Yes, some have it after their menses. So of course, and some too who have these medical conditions like diabetes, they also experience this. And those who use concoctions to wash their vulvas here and there to have the place tight could also have it, because when you do that, the vagina itself is a self-cleansing organ. You don't need soap, you don't need anything, just the ordinary water you are bathing with, just to clean the area. And of course, you need to appreciate the fact that when you have your menses, you don't dry the menses yourself. God has his own way. So they are sensitive.
People dry their own menses?
Yes, I mean, if you have your menses, you don't actually mop it to dry. God has his own way of taking care of it. But people want to insert all sorts of things to make their menses dry up, and they want to have sex. And also they could also encounter all these things. Some of them have these, when doing their menses, they keep the sanitary pads on for a very long time, and there's a moist. Of course, if you bleed heavy, there's a need to have extra pads around you when you move out, so that you can be changing it. Because if you don't change it, keeping the blood there for a long time can even expose you to having
How often
this.
do you have to change your
Well, it
pad?
depends. If you bleed a lot, twice, it's okay.
Okay.
That depends on how the quantity of flow you have.
Okay.
Yes, so you need to observe who you are. Are you the heavy bleeder? Who are you? How do I bleed when I'm in my menses? There's a need to look out for. And like I mentioned, where you dry your panties, I also mentioned about the fact that some of these whites are hormonal. They can also incur. So, and also women who normally bath and then put their fingers into the vagina to wash it. The vagina itself is a self-cleansing organ. There's a flora there that cleanses all the organisms that comes along with. But if you happen to be putting things there to be cleaning,
Some people
you are
use
reducing
perfume.
exactly. You are reducing the potency of the flora. So of course it wouldn't work.
So you can't use perfume there?
No, you can't. Just ordinary water. And some have their own way, things they insert, and all wanting the place to be dry, want to be tight, they are disturbing themselves. God has a way of taking care of the vagina itself. So you don't need all those things to clean, even after sexual intercourse.
What about the feminine wash?
The feminine, we need to look at it, because some comes with some
say
chemicals.
low pH and all of that.
Yeah, low pH, but of course we can't tell. Just the ordinary water will do the trick.
Douching?
Douching, we don't encourage, except that the woman has an infection that there's a need to douche. She has a sore around the genital, that's it. But without it, why not? Even if after sexual intercourse, you don't even have to put your finger there to clean it. Just put a liner under your panty and everything will flow on it.
Can you douche with water? I mean salty water, just salty
Yeah,
water?
if you think you are having discomfort,
Okay.
you can do it. But it shouldn't be regular.
Okay.
Yeah, if you do that regularly, you are reducing the potency of the normal flora. Exactly.
And
So
when that happens, does that mean that you have a high chance of getting
an
STI?
infection. Exactly. When you meet someone with an STI, your chances, because the flora is not there. And of course, you may create sores. The place becomes very tight. So the little force with penetration, you end up with abrasions. And of course, when the man is penetrating and the body fluid gets into that sore, you are in trouble if it's infected.
Wow. Auntie Edith, is there anything one can do, to boost their immune system in order to prevent themselves from getting an STI if they should meet somebody who has it?
Thank you very much. Of course, all the STIs we have, most of them are treatable. The gonococcal, the chlamydia, and all those things. But you can't be taking medication. When you take medication, you are reducing your immune system. You should wait and have the organism. But the most important thing we'll stress on is if you are not sure of your sexual partner, there's a need to use condom correctly and consistently as you meet that partner. And also go for a checkup, both of you, so that you can know if this person has it and there's a need to treat. And if you have a partner, stay with that regular sexual partner, faithful partner, so that you can avoid yourself of getting STI. And when you have an STI, go to the right place, the right person, identify with the right healthcare worker to be treated. When you're on medication, take your drugs consistently, adhere to it. Once on medication, of course, 2-3 days, you can do away with sex. If you can't, there's a need to use the condom.
Right. What about herbal treatments? Can you do herbal
Well,
treatment?
for us, we use the orthodox treatment.
Okay.
Once you're on the orthodox treatment, just take it because it's been scientifically proven that these medications will cure the curable ones. But for HIV, we know it's not curable. Research is ongoing. So the only thing you can do is that when you have an STI and you are being managed, it's a comprehensive care. So you have the opportunity to know your status and then bring in your sexual partner. Notify your sexual partner, bring him or her in to also know his or her status. And even the partner is not symptomatic, we manage the partner. Okay. We don't wait till the person is showing symptoms before we manage. Because it's likely the person is in the period where the signs are not showing. So, of course, let's manage because of the WHO prescription we have. Now we're using the syndromic management. Once you see an STI, you are managing. For instance, if you come with a discharge, we manage you for chlamydia, gonorrhea, and other things, trichomonas, vaginalis, and all those things. So that by the time you leave us, we have cured you of other STIs.
Okay.
So we manage your partner as well. But if we restrict ourselves to using the clinical diagnosis, that, because of our experience, we are managing you for white alone, we may end up not managing all. Because some come, they'll tell you, please, I have white. Of course, once you haven't done the lab investigations, you cannot be. So we're making our treatment in a way that even at the remotest part where we don't have access to lab, once you take the good history, you should be able to manage the person so that we can manage a larger number of people. That's why currently, as I speak, in all the 16 regions, we have HIV testing going on in all facilities, even at the cheap zone.
That's scary.
Yes. Of course, it's good to know your status.
That's true.
Yeah, of course. When you know your status, we prevent you from getting AIDS. So once you're on medication, you can live a normal life. So waiting before you become emaciated, nothing can be done. And as soon as you start treatment, you pop off.
And you can have children, right?
You can have children because we find a way of preventing the mother-to-child transmission.
Right.
Once you are infected, that's why we encourage the young ones to know their status early. If you are infected, you get on medication. By the time you think of having children, your viral load would have reduced, and you can have pregnancy without even your child getting infected.
So then, if somebody has HIV and the person is on medication, the person can have sex without protection and not transferring it.
They need to protect themselves.
But how do you get pregnant then?
That is it. We have a way of taking them through counseling.
Okay.
Yes, in fact, we have involved a lot because currently we having something we call the PEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis. Yes, which is coming on soon. And currently we're looking at having a HIV self-testing where one can walk to the pharmacy. Yes.
And just purchase it.
And then you test when you are infected. You walk to your healthcare provider. We link them up to our treatment centers. So HIV stigma should be a thing of the past. That is how come people are not going to the facility. They wait till they've gotten to a point where much cannot be done. By the time they get there, we cannot do much. So we're encouraging early testing and diagnosis. And then, of course, you are put on medication. And the medication is free.
It's free.
Exactly.
Right.
And wherever you go, even in our private facilities, in our child facilities, and currently as I speak, we are engaging other people to support our care in the HIV. We have people called the community treatment supporters, where we talk about the CAT, the community adolescent treatment supporters, young adolescents infected. They link up their peers to come and test, and then take medication. And of course, we're making use of something we call the differentiated service delivery, where we're not looking at going to the facility alone to be tested, but at any point in time, you can get your testing. Of course, once you've tested, we have people in the community that can link you. We talk about case managers. They identify with you, link you up to your healthcare provider. So you go there without anybody knowing you have HIV.
Okay, so the information is not going to spread.
It's not going to spread.
Okay.
So we've kept our data very tightly. So they link you up. And once you start medication and you are good to go, why not? You are stable now. you are well established in the antiretroviral, what we do is that we link you. We can take your medication through your peers. Exactly, except that you have to do your viral load once your medication to know if the treatment is going down well with you.
Right.
Yes, so this is where we've gotten as a health service.
We've really gotten far with it, and I'm excited about it. I think that everybody out there should check their status. And there are so many things that we take for granted. You know, like we said, we might see some discharge and think it's normal. And the men will see the discharge, they'll feel it's normal, it's going to stop within 2-3 days, but it continues. It persists. The women to see some things, they go to the pharmacy, they tell the pharmacist that, I have whites, give me some, you know, treatment or medication to it. But unfortunately, it ends up being something else. So like Auntie Edith is telling us, we need to check our status, get to know the state of us, and also make sure that your sexual partner is also being treated as well, right? Auntie Edith, if somebody wants to come to your place, how does a person get in touch with you?
Thank you very much. Currently, we have all the regions. We have an antiretroviral setup area where people can go. We have trained our midwives. Even at the family planning care unit, you have people there who have been trained to manage STIs in the various health facilities. The only thing is you must identify with the healthcare provider who is into maternal and child health care, and then speak to that person. And of course, if they call, we can link them up.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. You know, the biggest challenge here is the stigmatization.
Exactly.
Is it going down? Because I think it's one of the reasons why people are
in fact, we're
reporting.
seriously working at it. We are seriously working at it. And I believe we'll get there. It takes you and I.
Is there a way that you think that we can do it to make a change?
Yeah, of course, just continue education. Let them know that having an STI is not a threat. It's not a death penalty.
It's definitely not.
And also having an HIV doesn't mean you are a misfit. You still belong to the society. You can go on your normal duties. Don't shy away. Report, get medication, and you are fine and good to go.
I like that. Now, for those who are actually, people are thinking that, you know what, I'm there, I've had so much sexual partners, but I don't have any STIs. And there are people who are like, oh yeah, anytime I go with somebody, I might get an STI. Are there people who are highly prone to it, and others who are, how do you call it, avoidable when it comes to that?
Well, of course, women, we are receptors. We receive. So the men go and come and empty everything. And currently, sexual orientations as well. But we also need to be abreast with time that once you are seeing someone, the heart is not what is in the heart is not written on the face, and what is in the body. So see everyone as a potential carrier. Get to know yourself, know your statuses. If one person is infected, let that person go on medication, and you are good to go if you want to continue in that relationship.
Right.
But the only thing is you can use condom. When it's time to make decision in terms of having pregnancy, we have a way of going around that. The counselor and the gynecologist or the obstetrician take a decision on that.
Right. Thank you so much, Auntie Edith, for being here today. We are super, super grateful. Do you mind putting your contact number out there? Do you mind?
Well, people may call
or
to
there's
have
a short code that people can call.
In fact, people may call to want to have some few discussions. They are welcome.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So please put your number for those who want to call.
0244 207804. And in all the regions, we have STI clinics. But if you are shy to go, the people there have been trained. They can take care of you. But if you need a discussion, you can call this number again, 0244 207804. We can talk.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Auntie Edith is her name. Edith Asari-Mensah. She's a programs officer at the National AIDS and STI Control Program, and also she's with the Ghana Health Service. Thank you so much for educating us today. We are super grateful. And thank you so much for watching the show. We'll be back again next time, but make sure that you spread the good news. This lovely place, we want to say a very big thank you to them. The Icon, they are located at East Legon. If you need to host an event, look no further. Just come to the Icon. When you put in Google, just enter Google, put in the Icon here. they'll bring you right here, and make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend all the time that they should come to Icon if they have AD event, and also make sure they watch Changes. My name is Rosalind Felly. A big thank you to my production crew. I love you all. Thank you so for putting this together. I'm super grateful. Enjoy the rest of your day, my lovely viewers. Bye.